You know, Kevin, I'm curious. Why do you think it's taken so long for I guess, a biopic of this type to be done on Bob Marley
Well, a lot of
of this
people,
magnitude?
well, a lot of people have tried to make things about Bob in the past, and a few things have been made, but they've not been very interesting for me anyway, because they probably didn't have access to all the material and to all the people who really knew Bob best, and that's what we had in this. And so we were able to tell the complete story. And it's you know, people try to make a narrative, fictional kind of biopic, but they never get it off the ground. Primarily because, you know, who's going to play Bob? It's a really hard one to get someone to play Bob. And maybe one day they'll find somebody great to play Bob, and they'll make that film. But I wanted to make a film which was, you know, an inquiry into who was Bob Marley and why has his influence continued to be so enormous. Anywhere in the world you go, whether you go to Africa, whether you go to Asia, whether you go to the United States, Europe, everybody knows Bob Marley. You hear Bob Marley all around you in elevators and supermarkets and restaurants, whatever. You can't escape from it. But who was the man?
Right.
Who was the man behind the icon?
And you do. I mean, you basically take us from the moment he was born to the moment he died and everything in between. And there are so many unbelievable moments. I'm curious. Was there anything as you're, you know, going through this process that surprised you, that demystified him? You know, there were things in the movie where I went, oh wow, I thought it was something else about him.
Well, I think everybody who's seen the movie, including Bob's children, including the family, have gone, oh my God, I didn't know that, I didn't know that, and they've learned a huge amount from it. And I learned a huge amount, and it was because we didn't go into this movie thinking, oh, this is exactly what we want to say about Bob. We didn't have any preconceptions. I started just by going and talking to everybody who knew him well, and there was like 80 or 90 people I spoke to, and I think 50 or so of them are in the film, and it was from what people had to say that we built up the picture of him. So it's like, you know, like a mosaic. You know, you get one tile here and one tile there, and then you step back and, oh, there's a portrait of the man. So that's how it came about.
Did you after the documentary was completed and you had done all these interviews, did you have a better understanding as to why people gravitated towards him and why people still, you know? I
think for a lot of reasons, Bob's kind of legend lives on and his music lives on. I think partly it's because he spoke with such sincerity about what it was to be poor, to be oppressed, to be on the, brought up on the wrong side of the tracks or whatever. And you can hear it in his songs, you can hear it in his voice, that he's kind of speaking to you. If you've suffered in your life, he's saying, I've suffered too, and things are going to get better for you. And you believe him. That's the thing. It's something to do with his voice. You believe him when he says, everything's going to be all right. It's a kind of cliche thing, but when he comes from Bob Marley, it's like, oh, okay, that touches me because I know it's the case in his life. And so that's one thing. I think it's also that he's the only third world superstar. He's the only guy who's or gal who's an icon of music who came from the developing world. Mm-hmm. Everybody else is European or North American or whatever. He's the only one who grew up effectively in a shack, sleeping on an earth floor. So he connects with people in India, he connects with people in Indonesia or whatever, in Tibet. He connects with the people from the developing world. And last but not least, he just wrote a lot of the best songs ever written. I don't think anyone apart from Lennon and McCartney have written so many kind of classics. So he lives on as a songwriter.